Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Did you guys see this headline from yesterday? This one's from Bloomberg, but there's many like it in the world of crypto. SEC won't appeal court decision, paving way for grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF. Now, this happened about 24 hours ago. And so technically, even when this was published, there was a possibility that the SEC could appeal the decision in the Grayscale lawsuit, which they disastrously lost, which I'm just thrilled about. But the time elapsed, the deadline was midnight, and they didn't file. So the SEC, they chose not to, and there's no way to go back on this. They did not appeal the Grayscale decision, which again was absolutely disastrous for them. Like when it comes to crypto, I'm telling you, of course they're still fighting, but they're going to have to continue to retreat and cede ground over time. And so this led to a really fun and interesting post from attorney Jeremy Hogan in which he said, and I quote, and because of this, he said, and I quote, "You will probably make a lot of money soon," end quote. And I'll give you the rest of his contents and rest of his post and in full context in just a moment here. But it's an interesting discussion because there's also some question marks surrounding this. And so even though I think pretty much all of us in the world of crypto understand that what's most likely is that there's going to be way more money flowing into crypto, and because of this, once spot Bitcoin ETFs get approved anyway, and as a result of that, with us being here first, it can be life-changing for so many people. So I think the strong majority of us get that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen at the snap of a finger or blink of an eye. But over a period of time, yes, the amount of money that's going to flow in will be dramatically increased because of ultimately multiple approved spot Bitcoin ETFs. But is there a negative to this? Is there a downside to this? Is this destroying, the purity of what Bitcoin and crypto in general is supposed to be? Many people say that the answer is yes. Now, even if I were to agree with some such arguments, I have a little bit of a different take, and I'm actually not sure if my personal opinion is in the minority or the majority. But I have a feeling if people hear my perspective, unless I'm missing something, I have a feeling that even if people feel that this is just bad, it's a negative, if you just hear me out, you might not feel quite the same by the end of this video. But let me know what you think. Before going further, though, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so just a minor bit of table setting. Here's an August 29th headline from Cointelegraph. Breaking: Grayscale wins SEC lawsuit for Bitcoin ETF review. Crypto asset manager Grayscale Investments has scored a major victory against the United States Securities and Exchange Commission in its efforts to convert its over-the-counter Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a listed Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. Previously, the SEC rejected its GBTC application on the grounds that the products were not designed to prevent fraudulent and manipulative acts and practices. Grayscale subsequently sued, and the decision has been overturned. Okay, so that was the big news as of August. And then we get this, and this is from yesterday, but technically it wasn't until midnight we knew for sure that the SEC wasn't going to actually, fight back further. But here you have from Bloomberg, SEC won't appeal court decision paving way for Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission will not ask a federal appeals court to reconsider a ruling that paves the way for Grayscale Investments LLC to launch a spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, according to a person familiar with the matter. In August, the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the SEC's rejection of Grayscale's bid to convert its trust into an exchange-traded fund. The ruling was made by just three of the judges on the court, and the regulator could have sought a review by a full slate of judges. The agency is not planning any other appeals in the case, said the person, who asked not to be identified, discussing the ongoing matter. And so, folks, this is highly consequential, and I've talked about how it's been cited by, for instance, Anthony Scaramucci, who is the guy, I think he's the co-founder and also the CEO of Skybridge Capital, managing just a crazy amount of assets in the world of crypto. I think it's to the tune of billions of dollars. I just can't remember the exact figure. But he stated, look, when this gets approved ultimately, and you have spot Bitcoin ETFs, Like the number of investment advisors working on Wall Street, just pushing this product out there, it'll be over 100,000 investment advisors on Wall Street. And so you can imagine pushing that to their customers. What does that mean? Because now it's not just accredited investors buying Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust. You're talking about an ETF available on the New York Stock Exchange. And so despite that, there's this concern that with legacy finance getting in, you're going to have all sorts of additional derivatives of Bitcoin and all sorts of nonsense, and it could dilute what the true value of Bitcoin is. I'm seeing these types of arguments here, and I'm not saying that all of the arguments are untrue. I'm not saying that they're bad or wrong or stupid. That's not my point. My point more, you'll see as I go through the video, it's more like it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything about the nature of cryptocurrency or Bitcoin specifically. And so I'll share with you what attorney Jeremy Hogan had to say first, which again is perfectly reasonable, and I certainly agree with the monetary implications of this. And then I'll get into my more nuanced, specific take on this, which again I'm not sure if it's a majority or minority opinion. You guys will have to tell me. And whether or not you agree with me, I'm always happy to. I think it's fun to discuss this stuff. Like, I like debate, so if you think I'm missing something, I'm totally open-minded, but I'm just not seeing it at this point. I'm just not seeing it. But here's what Attorney Hogan said. You will probably make a lot of money soon, and I hope you do. But whatever remained pure and true about Bitcoin will soon be gone. Someone tell me how to feel about this. And so he's not the only one that's expressed concern about this. So I don't think it's weird or bad or wacky or stupid or anything of the sort. It's perfectly reasonable to be talking about this stuff, and we should be talking about it, which is why I am, frankly. I just happen to have a different take because I just don't share concerns like that I've seen from many people. And so I responded to him, and again, my opinion's no more valuable than anybody else's, but I think the discussion's fun, so I decided to respond, and here's what I wrote to Attorney Hogan. I said, I'll share my 2 cents, which is overpriced, I admit. Bitcoin is decentralized. With any decentralized cryptocurrency, there will be ways it's utilized that will be different than what some people like. The point is to not exclude anyone from participating in the Bitcoin ecosystem, regardless of how any of us feel about it on an individual level. To that end, Bitcoin remains just as pure and true as it was upon inception. I think that's the beauty of truly decentralized systems. But if your broader point is that you don't like the way Bitcoin will be utilized by the BlackRocks of the world, that's fair enough, and your point is not lost on me. It's perfectly reasonable for individuals to not like particular use cases and adoption of any decentralized cryptocurrency for any number of reasons. What can I say? I'm a glass half full type of guy. Yeah, so I'm an optimist, and I'm just saying I don't see this changing anything about the nature of Bitcoin. I simply don't. I mean, think about this too. Think about how the Bitcoin maxis have behaved, right? Now, they've always shouted against legacy financing, down with the banks, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Which is part of the reason that they've just despised Ripple and despised XRP so much, because Ripple, from the get-go, was using XRP to help legacy finance. But XRP is still decentralized, and any crypto, including Bitcoin, always could also be used to help legacy finance, which is a point that the Bitcoiners either didn't understand or just pretended like it wouldn't be the case in the future if Bitcoin continues to get adopted. But even if you're talking about, the use case of XRP as a bridge currency, well, as much as the Bitcoiners stated that they hated that over half a decade ago, they seem to not hate it anymore, right? See, it's so subjective here, but you have Jack Mallers, who founded Strike, which basically copied Ripple's business model, except for instead of using a superior tech stack like the XRP ledger and the proprietary RippleNet software, which Ripple ended up developing, instead of that, they created Strike, with Jack Mallers at the helm, created their own proprietary software, but utilizing an inferior tech stack, utilizing Bitcoin and Lightning Network. And, they're struggling to scale that bitch. They just are. And so what I'm saying, though, is the reason I even bring that up is because whether or not something is good or bad is rather subjective. With the nature of a decentralized system, it's that you just let everyone participate, and it is what it is. If you can kick people out because you don't like it, then is it even decentralized? And so here you have you know, the even the Bitcoin folks broadly liking what Jack Mallers is doing. I don't really see any. To be honest with you, I've never seen pushback from even a Bitcoin maximalist in terms of what Jack Mallers is doing. They support it. Now it's the same thing Ripple's doing with XRP. It's the same use case, but suddenly it's good. So it was bad until it's good. It's so subjective. And should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed? Because if you would have asked Bitcoin maximalists if they wanted this to be the case, if they wanted this to be allowed in 2015, say hell no. That's antithetical to the point of Bitcoin. But then it comes along and they're okay with that. And then there are some Bitcoiners that are against. It's just funny. You know what happens? The more time passes, the more people are okay and happy that legacy finance is getting in. But it's not true across the board. There are still a lot of people that think that this is ruining Bitcoin, and I'm just not seeing why. So let's expand upon these thoughts further. There's a lot more to say about this. My fellow XRP YouTuber Brad Kimes, Digital Perspectives, he reposted that what I just shared from Attorney Hogan, and he seems to agree. And so he wrote the following: true story. Bitcoin is about to be kidnapped by the largest institutions in the world. Whatever anti-bank / establishment hope you had for Bitcoin, the second the Fidelity, BlackRock, Invesco, VanEck get approved for spot Bitcoin ETF, it will be over once they are done pimping it. Oh wait, actually there's more to this post. It was almost the end. Once they're done pimping it out, it will never be the same. Enjoy the ride. Now, I rather strongly disagree with that. And so I responded to him and I wrote the following. And again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's perfectly fine. I'm just, nothing against anybody personally who thinks that they're right and I'm wrong. It's perfectly fine. I'm just challenging ideas here. That's it. I think it's fun to talk about this. So I wrote, if institutions using a decentralized crypto, however they choose, without permission ruins it, then crypto is not the solution it's touted by many to be. I believe this will not change Bitcoin in such a way. The open source code is not being modified. It will continue to perform as intended by Satoshi regardless of what the BlackRocks of the world choose to do or not do with it. If this negatively changes the nature of Bitcoin, then decentralized cryptocurrencies are not resilient. I personally do not believe that is the case. And so, folks, think about that perspective. This is why I just have to respectfully disagree. If this is something that ruins it, then in order for it not to be ruined, you'd have to have a mechanism in place that somehow magically prevents the BlackRocks of the world and VanEck and Fidelity, prevents them from doing the things that apparently they don't want to happen with Bitcoin, yet still somehow would be considered decentralized. Is that even possible? Because I think the answer is no, it's not possible. And I don't think that it's a problem. It doesn't ruin Bitcoin. It just doesn't. It still functions just fine. And I'll expand upon the thoughts further because there's more to be said here. Somebody named Dan wrote to me and said, if BlackRock, Fidelity, and JP Morgan want to acquire Bitcoin, they have enough power to suppress price through market pressure and media influence. Doesn't matter what exchange they use, centralized exchange or decentralized exchange or direct transfer, or even what asset class they target. Just look at JPM with metals market. Okay, and so I'll note that I didn't really dispute any of that, but I did share some additional thoughts on this. I wrote, I agree that market manipulation is real. However, I do not believe such manipulation ruins decentralized cryptocurrencies. I believe they are resilient despite manipulation. If they're not, then we should just abandon the crypto asset class right now. And then there was this post from a lady of crypto who I'm not familiar with, but has a massive following, 415,100 followers on social media platform X. And she describes herself as crypto investor plus trader, focus on undervalued alts, always take profit, don't be a dumbass. There you go. And she said something that I just think, and again, nothing against her, I'm challenging the idea. I think the idea is disastrously wrong and completely misses the mark. So Lady of Crypto, with 415,000 followers, and this has been seen 13,000 times so far, just a short period of time, wrote the following. And by the way, she wrote this to Attorney Hogan. She said, I say this a lot, but 90% of people in crypto do not care. All they care about is making money now. The reality is that BlackRock and their ilk will sterilize crypto, and then they will take control over it. People say the blockchain is decentralized without understanding that the entity which controls everything around the chain controls the chain. Okay, and so a lot of people find that perspective persuasive and compelling. I do not. And so I challenge the idea, and here's what I wrote, and I think that my position just makes infinitely more sense. But if I'm missing something again, just let me know. I'm not seeing it though. So here's what I wrote to Lady of Crypto. I said, you said, quote, the entity which controls everything around the chain controls the chain, end quote, but that's not right. In order to control Bitcoin, a person or entity would need to control over 50% of the network's mining hash rate. If they don't, then they have no power over who can or can't transact on the Bitcoin blockchain. So even if a ton of banks and asset managers from the world of legacy finance utilize Bitcoin for purposes we may find unsavory, it won't matter in the least in terms of control. I'll still be able to do whatever I want with my Bitcoin, and so will you. So will everyone. Do you believe legacy finance will successfully 51% attack Bitcoin? If so, you're telling me all it takes to ruin crypto is for legacy financial institutions to jump in and, quote, sterilize it and then, quote, control it. If this is true, then Satoshi Nakamoto was an idiot, and we need to abandon the entire crypto asset class immediately. In a decentralized system, which Bitcoin certainly is, we're not going to agree with what all participants of the system are doing. That's a feature of the system, not a bug. The point of Bitcoin is to not be exclusionary. And so that's what I wrote. So think about it. If we can continue to do what we're doing within the decentralized ecosystem of Bitcoin, this is true of XRP as well, pick your decentralized platform. If we can continue to do that, and then other people get to do what they do, even if we don't like it, isn't that good? Isn't that the point? Is that not the point? And shouldn't you have known, if you're Satoshi Nakamoto, shouldn't you have known in 2009 that in a decentralized system, that's exactly the point, and that's exactly how things would unfold if this is adopted at scale? Shouldn't you have known that, Satoshi Nakamoto? Yes, of course. Of course you would have known that in 2009 when this thing was released. Of course. So the fact that we're now seeing this come to further evolution, we're seeing the fruition of this, why are so many people caught off guard? Why do so many people think that this is bad or wrong? I think it's whatever people want to do with their Bitcoin, however they want to do it, and further up various use cases or ecosystems within it, whatever they want to do, I don't care. Why should I? Because if what they're doing harms what I'm doing, then we have a broken platform. But the truth is, what they're doing doesn't harm what I'm doing with my Bitcoin, doesn't harm what you're doing with your Bitcoin, right? And even if you want to make arguments in terms of what it does in terms of price manipulation and market volatility, that's outside of the code of Bitcoin. That's not the point. And in a mature asset class, it'll just even out. Because I'll tell you what, if you want to talk about volatility, arguably Bitcoin's been becoming less volatile over time as more participants jump in. So even if there's going to be volatility that otherwise wouldn't exist because of these entities, I'm not even seeding the ground, but I'm saying even if that's the case, the amount of volatility there was for the first half a decade of the existence of Bitcoin was way more wild than what we'll see with that. And that was without legacy finance. It was still buck wild volatility all over the place because there were almost no participants. The more participants we have jump in, the more things are going to get evened out. And if you don't like the manipulation, again, I'm not even arguing that all of the things you don't like are unreasonable to not like. In fact, I'd probably agree with a lot of stuff. I'd say, yeah, I don't like the things those guys over there are doing. But I'll also again say that doesn't hurt what we are doing over here. And that's the point of a decentralized system. You can't have a decentralized system and then say, no, those guys shouldn't be able to do that. Or they shouldn't be, because even if you don't like it, fine. But they should be able to do it. Don't say they shouldn't be able to do it. They should be able to do it even if we don't like it. And then if they're doing anything, especially if it's something that's illegal, then let the authorities in various geographic regions tackle that. But you need to have the template of it just is, and people can do. That's it. Then there was this. I also reposted Attorney Hogan's post because, again, he said, and I quote, "You will probably make a lot of money soon, and I hope you do." Yeah, spot on. And I do think that. So it's like, even if you think that the BlackRocks of the world jumping in is a net negative for the world of crypto, which I'm just not convinced of, even if I don't like everything they're doing, I'm not. I think it's going to be, over on the whole, a net plus. Even though I'd probably agree with some arguments made, because I've read some like, yeah, I don't really like all this stuff and the paper versions of Bitcoin and this and that. Now, if it's backed by Bitcoin, that's, if there's something that's backed by Bitcoin, then I don't see the issue there. But anyway, I wrote, I 100% agree with this. I'm sorry, I read my own post wrong. I 100% agree this will ultimately, in all likelihood, make many of us regular folks a lot of money. There is life-changing opportunity here. And so it does seem to be the case that even people that don't like what's going on, we still recognize that it's good for us here in crypto, especially we who are here before all this additional institutional adoption unfolds. Yeah, good for us. I also posted the following. I'm seeing a lot of people expressing concern about approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs bastardizing crypto. Even if some of the complaints are reasonable, which they may be, I have to ask, where was this outrage when Bitcoin futures were approved in the US back in 2017? At least with a Bitcoin ETF, actual Bitcoin will be required to back it. With futures, that's not the case. And so I'm assuming most of you are aware of this, but this happened actually just a few weeks after I jumped into crypto. Here's a headline from CNBC, December 1st, 2017. CME to launch Bitcoin futures in 3 weeks after green light from regulator. Bitcoin jumps. And so there you go. Right towards the tail end of that crazy bull run, that gigantic bubble, get this news. Everybody's excited about it. I didn't see any critiques of it at the time. Everybody's thrilled about it. And this is arguably a worse product than a spot Bitcoin ETF because, again, when you're talking about futures, there is no Bitcoin underlying it. With Bitcoin futures, part of the deal is if you're the entity that's managing that ETF, you created it and you're managing it, you have to actually hold Bitcoin for all the customers that jump into the ETF, which is awesome in terms of supply and demand. So I actually, and look, I can be persuaded if you've got a good reason, but I don't see why that derivative product is bad. Now, there are other things that may be, like, because look, I think that, frankly, legacy finance, it's silly AF. A lot of stuff is, and a lot of paper, this or that, and then manipulation of markets, and it's just, a lot of it just seems stupid as hell. And it's overly complex, and people are just trying to find ways to make money on various investments and schemes and so on and so forth. Well, all of that already exists, and even if you don't like it, yes, of course it's coming to Bitcoin. It's a decentralized system, and people should be able to do whatever they want. But it doesn't mean that Bitcoin's less pure or true. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. It just means that it's a decentralized system, and Bitcoin's, if anything, it's proving the purity of Bitcoin because it's decentralized and people get to do whatever the hell they want with it. It's proving the purity and the trueness of it. The code just works. It just does. Yeah, it's slow, and transaction fees are unreasonable because it's the first crypto ever created, but it's doing what it was designed to do. So to that point, I'm not seeing the issue here. So if I'm missing the mark on something, again, totally willing to be persuaded, but I think that people need to just think a little bit further about what the purpose of Bitcoin is, and is it doing that? And I say the answer is yes. It's performing as coded, as intended. It just is. It's again, technologically pretty inferior, but it's still existing and doing its thing. And it's continuing to get adopted, and it does have first mover advantage, so people seem to not care that it's technologically not the best. But that's okay. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because if anything I say are right, that would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.